The latest poll from Mason-Dixon Polling and Strategy shows Florida Governor Ron DeSantis leading his Democratic challenger Charlie Crist by an amazing 11 points. Honestly, I'm going to be surprised if DeSantis doesn't win this election by 14 plus points. But 11 is a pretty healthy lead to be showing at this point in the race. So today, in honor of America's Governor Ron DeSantis and his 11-point lead, I'm going to talk about the 11 best things that Ron DeSantis has done as governor of Florida. Welcome to Political Pop Culture, where the important and the not-so-important issues of the day are broken down, discussed, and occasionally even mocked and ridiculed. I am your host, JP, and this is my take. Ron DeSantis is, by any reasonable measure, the best governor in America. But what makes him the best? Well, let's take a look at this fun but totally not complete list of just what makes Ron DeSantis the rock star that he is. Number 1, he didn't close Florida down for COVID. Believe it or not, some people actually hold this against him. Those people are stupid. In not caving to the bogus left-wing science, Governor DeSantis allowed the people of Florida to determine their own comfort level when it came to risk exposure to COVID. As a result, instead of crashing down, Florida's economy has thrived. And that brings us right into number 2. Florida's economy is booming. Because Florida wasn't shut down, the economy is thriving. While businesses in liberal hellholes like New York and California were closing their doors, in many cases permanently, Florida's businesses have been doing great. One of the driving factors behind that success is number 3. Tourism. Now, Florida has always been a state that makes a living off of tourism. That's no surprise. With the great weather, the hundreds of miles of beaches, world-class fishing, theme parks, scuba diving, and more, Florida's endless summer will always be a beacon to people stuck in colder, less hospitable climates. But since Florida didn't shut down for all that COVID nonsense, people from all over the country flocked to the Sunshine State. Not only did they flock to the Sunshine State, but they did so maskless. Just ask Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Number 4, surplus. With a record-setting tourism came record-setting budgetary windfalls for the state of Florida. In July 2022, Governor DeSantis announced a record $21.8 billion surplus for the fiscal year 2021 and 2022. That is the highest surplus in state history. While the budget surplus is high, you know what isn't? Number 5, unemployment. Florida's unemployment rate is well below the national average. It's only 2.7%. Basically, what that means is the only people in Florida who aren't working are people who don't want to. Speaking of things you don't want to do, you know what I don't want to do? I don't want to beg for likes halfway through this list, but here I am. Hey, seriously, if you like the video, do me a favor, hit the like button, then click on subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, you're going to be the first to know anytime we upload new content just like this. You'll also be helping out the channel by telling the algorithm to show this video to other people who might be interested in watching it. Every little bit really does help, so thank you. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, number 6, environmentalism. Now I know what you're thinking. Ron DeSantis is a Republican, and people always accuse Republicans of hating the environment. Liberals always accuse Republicans of wanting to sell any and every little bit of the environment if they can make a quick buck. Now, of course, that isn't true. And Ron DeSantis, he's proving it by literally putting his money where his mouth is. Ron DeSantis has demonstrated his concern for Florida's environment with major investments to restore America's Everglades and protect Florida's waterways. Under DeSantis' leadership, Florida has invested over $3 billion for Everglades restoration, ensuring that the Everglades are going to be around for future generations. Speaking of future generations, let's go to number 7. He protects the rights of children and their parents. In March of 2022, Ron DeSantis signed House Bill 1557, the Parental Rights in Education Act, into law. This bill was much maligned by the media as the "don't say gay" bill. But the reality is that the bill prohibits classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through the 3rd grade. It also prohibits instruction that isn't age appropriate for students, and it requires school districts to adopt procedures for notifying parents if there's a change in services from the school regarding a child's mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being. DeSantis said of the bill, quote, "Parents' rights have been increasingly under assault around the nation, but in Florida, we stand up for the rights of parents and the fundamental role they play in the education of their children. Parents have every right to be informed about services offered to their child at school, and should be protected from schools using classroom instruction to sexualize their kids as young as 5 years old. Hey, you know what? In a perfect world, this bill would never have been necessary. Because in a perfect world, the monsters who think sexualizing children, the monsters who advocate for the mutilation of children, those people would never be allowed anywhere near children. As a parent, I thank God that there are people brave enough to stand up against the woke mafia and the groomers who would go after young children. Groomers like number 8, Disney. You know the story. I'm not going to rehash it all here. But suffice it to say, woke Disney went out of their way to not only criticize, but mischaracterize a bill that was designed to protect children and parents. A bill, by the way, which had overwhelming support from both sides of the aisle in the state of Florida. As a result of Disney's actions, state legislators voted to dissolve the Reedy Creek District, which has allowed Disney to effectively self-govern with the same authority and responsibility as a county government. Despite the bad press, Ron DeSantis refused to back down from the evil empire, saying, quote, "The path forward is Disney will not control its own government in the state of Florida. Disney will have to follow the same laws that every other company has to follow in the state of Florida. They will pay their fair share in taxes." Hey, speaking of taxes, number 9. Ron DeSantis signed the largest tax relief package in Florida's history. In May 2022, Ron DeSantis signed House Bill 7071, providing more than $1.2 billion in tax relief for Floridians. Florida's economy has consistently outpaced the nation, but we are still fighting against inflationary policies imposed on us by the Biden administration, Governor DeSantis said. In Florida, we are going to support our residents and help them afford the goods that they need. Florida has been fiscally responsible, so we are in a good position to provide meaningful relief for families right now. Number 10. School choice and historic investments in Florida's education system. If you needed more proof that DeSantis wants to do what's best for kids in Florida, he just signed the largest school choice expansion in U.S. history. The signing of HB 7067 came one day after Governor DeSantis signed into law the largest increase in public school teacher salaries in the state's history. He also secured the highest ever K-12 per pupil spending, with $22.5 billion in state and local funding, including $100 million for mental health initiatives. And since we're on the subject of kids in schools, number 11. He eliminated Common Core and he banned CRT from Florida classrooms. Governor DeSantis eliminated Common Core from Florida's classrooms and he replaced it with Florida's BEST, B-E-S-T. That stands for Benchmarks for Excellent Student Thinking. He also signed the Stop Woke Act, which bans educators in Florida from teaching critical race theory in K-12 classrooms. While DeSantis said there weren't currently any CRT courses in K-12 schools, as they're primarily taught in universities, he did say this legislation would prevent those principles from entering kids' education and becoming indoctrination. It is clear that Ron DeSantis truly cares about kids in Florida getting the best possible education and being protected not only from political propaganda, but from subject matter that isn't age appropriate. Hey, as a bonus here, Ron DeSantis has also done an outstanding job handling the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. I used to live in Cape Coral, and I've been shocked to see the devastation that the hurricane has caused. But Governor DeSantis got Pine Island Bridge reopened in only 3 days, and the Sanibel Causeway, almost unbelievably, is set to reopen by the end of October. Even President Biden, who is clearly no fan of DeSantis, has praised the governor's response and work in Florida after the storm. Well, there you have it. While it's certainly not a comprehensive list, there's 11 reasons, plus a bonus one, why Ron DeSantis is the best governor in America. That's my take. What's your take? You can let me know your take in the comments below. You can also let me know your take by joining the cult at PolPopCult on all major social media outlets. Thank you for listening.